How's everyone doing tonight? This is Chopping It Up Hardcore with Hal Capone, special edition. Tonight, my special guest is Alex Suarez from the early 2000 Florida Screamo band Kite Society. Amazing band. Got to see him in the early 2000s with Daughters and There Were Wires in Providence. Just an amazing band. Recently, they just made an Instagram and gonna share some exciting news tonight, so I'm super amped on that. Alex also was in a super popular band called Cobra Starship. On top of that, DJ producer named Lefty. Just super amped, and I can't wait to talk and see what's cooking. But hope everybody's good. Hope everybody's well. Went and saw In Loving Memory the other day. Unbelievable show. Oath, Catalyst, Ted Williams, Awfully Pretty, Dreamwell, Secret Set by Dreamwell, unbelievable. Yeah, back at it again, doing it again for another one. I know I keep saying I'm not gonna do these, but I'm back again. So just wait on Alex to jump in, and we'll get to some exciting stuff. Ron, what's up, brother? So yeah, I think the next show I'll be going to is Blood Brothers in a couple weeks in Boston. That'll be super exciting. I can't wait for that. I mean, this is the year of reunions, honestly. I mean, I never thought that I would see, within the past year, Usurp, Seisha, Orchid, In Loving Memory. It's crazy. It's crazy, and it seems like these bands don't miss a beat when they get back together again. So we're just waiting on Alex. He should be here any second. You know how these IG Live things go. Could be a little hiccup here or there, but we'll get it going. I think I have one more talk planned in the near future, and then I don't know. I might take a little break. We'll see, though. I always say that. But I'm excited to hear the news. Oh, here we go. I'll grab you right now. Here we go. It's a secret who I'll chop it up with next. Alex,
Yo, what's up, man?
what's happening?
Not much. Thank you so much for doing this.
It's a pleasure, and I'm glad that I can give you this platform to break some news too, which I'm super excited about. But yeah, I mean, we've been talking about this for a while, and so
It's true.
yeah, I'm just honored to have you on and chat about Kite Flying Society and back in the day stuff and things that are going on in your life now. So thank you again.
Dude, man, and my pleasure. And thank you for doing all this stuff. I've been watching a lot of your live streams and interviews, and you've had so many sick people on, man. So just as somebody who's been on the other side, you go on all the shows and videotaping everything, man, is super sick. So I think everybody really appreciates what you do.
I appreciate that. Thank you so much. Yeah, it's been a long time, and I'm glad I can still do it. I'm in my 50s, so and I'm still recording shows. I just
Fuck
went to
yeah.
a show the other day, so I don't see myself stopping anytime soon. So that's the
Yeah, man. I see some people in the chat saying what's up, so I still want to say what's up to everybody who's joined us so far. Thanks for coming out.
sick. So usually, the first thing I ask on these talks is what were you listening to when you were younger as a kid growing up, and what kind of pushed you towards the hard, heavier stuff? What was the transition like?
Yeah, this is a funny question actually because although we kind of played like that kind of stuff that we played, it wasn't exactly what we were listening to. We eventually got into a lot of it as we started discovering bands while we were doing it. But to be honest with you, I mean, I'm trying to think. Like, I grew up, with two older brothers. My oldest brother is probably around your age, and he was into, this was 80s, so it was like hair metal was like the shit. Iron Maiden, Metallica. I grew up like a huge Metallica fan.
Yeah.
You can hear it in a lot of the guitar stuff that I write. And uh, so that was like a big influence for me in my childhood. And then eventually, as I got a little older, I moved to Florida when I was 13. I was born in Connecticut. And down there is when I started playing guitar. I got my first guitar at 13, and I got really into punk music and all this like underground punk stuff. Hudson, do you remember that band Hudson
Oh, I
Street
do.
or whatever?
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, stuff like that. I was super into, and then eventually started going into like some more well-known stuff. I started learning about bands like No Effects and like all that kind of stuff happening. And I liked a bunch of that, but I was always exploring a lot of different things. And I feel like my whole existence for the last 30 years, of being like a real music lover, I've always dabbled in a lot of different things.
yeah.
But a little later on, as the punk sound kind of started evolving into like the emo stuff in like the early 90s, mid 90s, late 90s, and then I got into like, all the stuff that was kind of happening, like Mineral, Braid, Karate, all these old bands. And that era was like a big thing, the Promise Ring, all that kind of stuff. And then eventually the music kind of started changing. It was around 1999 we started Kite Flying Society, and at that point we were like getting into a lot of indie stuff,
Yeah.
and we would play with a lot of indie bands. Like we played a lot with this band from Tallahassee called the Plastic Mastery, that were like a super twee indie pop band, and they were like one of our closest homies. And we were listening to like a lot of like the like Cursive, like the Omaha stuff, the
Yeah.
Faint, shit like that, and like Bell and Sebastian, and like really lighthearted kind of soft indie stuff was like getting really popular for us. And then the kind of rock revival started happening in the early 2000s with like the Strokes and all that stuff. So I was into a lot of it. But when we actually first got together and we were playing, started playing music, we didn't know what we were gonna make. And when we got together, it's just what happened. Like, Rick came in, and yeah, Plasmas. Hey, I see you in there, Bone. Um, Plastic Mastery homies. That's a good friend of mine from Florida. Um, but yeah, when we first got together, we had no idea what was going to happen. We invited Rick over to sing. A few of my friends, James and Chris, were like, we should start a band. And Rick just showed up, and we started just kind of jamming on some grooves, and he just starts screaming and yelling. We're like, all right, sweet. I guess that's the vibe.
Yeah.
So we just kind of went with it. And yeah, and that's kind of what happened when we all got together. So it wasn't until we played with like Spirit of Versailles, because like at that time in South Florida, it was like Newfound Glory was like getting huge, and the whole pop punk scene started blooming, and like wasn't like all really great dudes, but like wasn't really my cup of tea.
Yeah.
But all these bands started like really flooding the scene down there, and we played finally with Spirit, and we're like, oh shit, another band that sounds like us. We're like, what are you guys up to? So we became really good friends with them. We hit it off with them instantly. And we started learning about all these other bands and the whole South Dakota scene and Iowa, and it kind of started spreading. So like the majority of the stuff we started really getting into was like all from over there. And then, we got into bands like Sleepy Time Trio, 400 Years, Exploder, all that kind of stuff, like really kind of popped into it.
Now,
So
now with the Florida scene though, were you kind of not like down with, I know Bloodlet was like really big down there, and obviously Reversal of Man and Palaka and Omega Man, and I mean just a bunch of bands. Were you like interested in those bands too, or was it kind of
yeah,
like
totally. I mean, it wasn't too long before we were into like Locust, who we played with a bunch of times, Orchid,
yeah,
Reversal Man, all that stuff for sure. It all just kind of bloomed all at once, at least for me.
yeah,
I don't know about anybody because I can't speak for everybody, but um, we just were kind of living in a totally different world. But it's funny because that was like no, like that was like way up from
mm,
us, and so we were all deeper south. And back then, the scene was like Eulogy Records.
yeah,
Um, there was a couple labels that got down there, and we did not fit in that shit at all. We were like, man, this is all like dudes in jerseys down here,
yeah,
like blasting mosh pits, and we were just like in cardigans playing like yelly stuff. But that's kind of what brought us to Orlando when we moved from South Florida, because down there, like, it wasn't really happening. We started to get some support, Undecided Records. You remember that label?
That sounds really familiar. What else was on that label?
Man, I can't remember. But this guy, Alex Undecided was his name. Everybody, all these Amy Fiddler, all these labels had like the people that ran it. And Alex kind of started like in getting us involved with stuff, which is cool. He booked the Locust, and then he booked us to play with them in West Palm Beach one time, and we were like, "Oh, okay, this guy's kind of got our backs," which is dope. We became buddies with him. He was really nice, but like all the rest of that scene down there, like just totally, wasn't really where we fit in at all. So
Yeah.
eventually, we decided to move to Orlando because we're like a bunch of our friends just moved there after high school, and we were driving up there to go to a lot of shows to see a lot of like the indie and emo bands and shit that were not touring deep south. And we are like, fuck it, let's go up there. And then that's when kind of things really started to pop for us. Things got better for us in Miami and South Florida after we moved, which was really funny.
Yeah.
Kind of how
So
it
what
happens.
what brought you from Connecticut to Florida? Was it your parents moved,
Yeah.
or what brought you down to Florida?
Yeah, I was only 13, and we were originally going to move to Miami. And the house that my parents wanted to buy got destroyed by Hurricane Andrew in 1990. What was that, 94, 93, something like that?
Yeah, I think so. So around there, yeah.
And we were like trying to figure it out. My parents wanted to move, and so we ended up moving to Boca Raton, where my grandma lived, and everybody else's grandparents, evidently. And that's where this all kind of got connected. That's when I was like, sweet. It kind of molded me to the man I am today. I got into playing more music and skateboarding and smoking weed with my friends, and didn't end up like the Ariana Grandes and the who's the other political commentator that's from there, that kid Ben something, I forget. Anyway,
Now, were you like a sports kid in high school? Did you play sports, or were you kind of like just skateboarding and doing things like that?
yeah, zero sports, and still till this day.
Nice. Nice. So when you Kite Flying Society, I know there's been what 10 members that have been in and out of the band, um, give or take. Um, what what was the core in the beginning? Like who was in it and how long? In I know the 7 inch came out in 2000. Um, how was that kind of like, how did you guys all get together and then you put the 7 inch out? It was self-released, right? The 7 inch?
Yeah. So funny story about that I'll get to when I get reach that point. But basically, I was playing in a band with some friends of mine in high school, and they kicked me out of the band in my senior year. And I connected with my friends Chris and James, who had also just kind of had a band that like fell apart.
Hmm.
And they're like, "Why don't we all start jamming?" So that's when they're like, "Why don't you come to our James's house?" It was my friend Chris Lankinow and James Callahan,
Hmm.
and we had a bunch of classes together since like eighth grade. So this was like all through high school. So I knew these guys for a long time. We were all in like the skate crew and all that stuff. And basically, you we got together, started playing. They called Rick, and Rick came over. So this is right at the end of like graduating year. So it's like in the summertime.
Yeah.
And then it wasn't too long before we had like 5 or 6 songs, and we started playing shows. My friend, this kid David Quarles that I used to know from down south, he was like, "Yo, this stuff is good. You guys should play shows." And he booked us our first show, which was cool. It kind of kicked off the whole thing.
Nice.
So then eventually, it wasn't too long after before we put out a 7 inch that we recorded on 4 track, and then we just got it pressed. We figured out,
Hmm.
found a record plant, and sent them the tape, and they're like, "Oh man, we have to convert this," and it was like a whole process, but they did it, and we had like I think 150 or 200 copies made, and like 40 of them melted in our bass player's trunk of his Saab car, or he had a Volkswagen Passat or something like that, and the trunk melted like 40 of them, which
Oh,
sucks. So yeah, those are gone, but the rest are floating around. I'm still trying to get my hands on a copy.
yeah, yeah.
Um,
So that was recorded on a 4 track?
yeah,
Really? Oh, I didn't
yep.
know.
Yes, the demo tape. We did the demo tape, and then we did the 7 inch, and that was all 4 track recording.
Yeah. And the demo, it was just a cassette, right? Is that the first thing that was really put out by you guys?
Yeah, exactly. Started bringing some demo tapes to the shows. Because back then, like, you know, all these like distros would show up to concerts and bring like big boxes of CDs, and you would, you know, record dig through
Yeah.
CDs that they were selling through the distribution. And it was a funny thing. So we started bringing demos to shows and trying to get some of them to pick it up. And yeah, then we just put out the 7 inch and we brought it on tour. So we booked our first tour. Um, Gosh, it was probably at the end of '99. I think it was right before we had the seven. No, it had to be after the 7 inches.
Yeah.
So it's probably, I think it was in the winter because we went up to Tennessee and it was like freezing up there for us. But
Really?
yeah. So our friend JB had joined the band not too long after we started. So the core lineup was me, Rick, Rick Barnaky, Chris Lankenau, James Callahan, and our friend JB Townsend. And we all did the first tour together, which was only like 5 or 6 shows. We went to like Winston-Salem, North Carolina. Bludgeon had booked us there. We played with them in South
Really?
Florida, and then they booked us to play there. But we didn't play with them. We ended up playing with this band from Orlando, actually called uh, uh, Planes versus Airplanes. Is that right? I'm trying to remember. I'm totally fucking up, and I'm going to sound like an asshole. But we became really good friends with these guys for a long time. And uh, yeah, it was a good new friendship that started because we ended up moving to Orlando, and I'm blanking so hard on the name. I'm getting so mad at myself for it.
Yeah. So was that first like 5 date, 6 date tour like was it successful for you guys, you think?
No, it was all empty shows. I'm trying to think what was the best show on that. We played a good show in Gainesville.
Hmm.
Um, Then actually, no, we had some good shows for sure. We went up to Augusta, Georgia, and played with oh my gosh, I gotta think. This was like 1999.
Yeah.
There were some really sick bands that we played with that ended up kind of doing some cool stuff. If I remember it, I'll say it again. But we went to like Augusta, and then we went to Georgia Tech.
Hmm.
We played at a venue there called Under the Couch, and we went up to Johnson City, Tennessee, and played like a basement show for like 10 college kids. That was pretty dope. It was actually a cool vibe. That was a good show. And then we went up to Winston-Salem and we played there. And I think we also played in Nashville on that tour. Oh, no, we didn't do Nashville on that one. That was a different tour. And I think that was it. There might have been one other Florida show, but it was
Yeah.
really small. But it was like our first time doing anything at all. We had a Honda Odyssey that we got somebody to rig in Florida, like a trailer hitch on it,
Yeah.
and we tugged a trailer on that thing. So it was an experience to say the least, man. This is like pre-cell phones,
Yeah.
MapQuest,
Yeah,
printed out directions.
somebody's number, you're calling on like a rotary phone,
Yeah,
like
dude, for sure. A lot of pay phones and all that stuff. And this is like early MapQuest, which was not good.
yeah,
You know?
I remember those days. AOL chat, I would be like, hey, like I need your number or something like that.
Yeah, dude, for sure. There were some big message boards happening then.
Yeah, true, true.
Yeah.
Yeah, that back then was so crazy. I remember like writing people letters to like play shows
Oh,
and
oh
hopefully
yeah,
hope it would come back in time where, it wouldn't be too late for the show or whatever.
dude,
It
definitely.
was crazy back then.
Yeah, super wild. I can't even believe we pulled it off sometimes, but
I know. So Kite Flying Society kind of, so were you together from 99 till 2003, 4, right around that time?
yeah, that's correct.
In the discography kind of would be like the tape, the 7 inch, the regular EP, and then Jokum like EP. And then what were the songs that were put on the discography? Were those songs you were going to put out on something substantial, and then they kind of just got put onto that in it records discography?
Yeah, so we actually recorded a whole album, but the thing is, a lot of the songs are re-recordings. So I don't remember why we recorded the songs so many times. I think it's because the band members were always changing,
Yeah.
that things were kind of always like, massaging around, like when eventually we introduced like synthesizers into our music and stuff like that. Like, um, so we eventually had another new lineup, and this was towards the end, and we basically recorded a whole album in our house and never finished it. I mean, we finished all the recordings. It never got like finished. The editing never got done, but we have bounce downs and we had those like rough mixes.
Hmm.
So we said, you know what? We have this material. Let's just put out the new stuff that wasn't re-recordings, and and then throw on as much as we can. So we had the recording from Under the Couch at Georgia Tech where we played that went on there, and I think it was about 2 or 3 songs from the unreleased
Hmm.
albums: Rocky Four, Hospital Bed.
Yeah.
There wasn't a whole lot of new material on that album, but I'm thinking about maybe dropping what we have of it. I'm going to see if I can do like the stem separation and Logic and give it a little bit of a master
Mm.
rebalance and see if we can maybe just put out eventually that recording, which would be cool to have something else, you know?
Yeah, yeah. I was like so amped to see Rocky Four on that discography because I love that song, and obviously
Thanks,
like that was one of the
man.
songs that I post like when I
Yeah,
and yeah, it's just I always wondered like what that was gonna become, you know what I mean? Because it was just put on the discography, so I was curious to ask that, and
yeah,
it seemed like obviously you said members changed and the style kind of changed a little bit too. You know what I mean? Like the songs towards the end of that discography, it's almost like you're a little more screamier than like the uh, emotional like earlier days. You know what I mean? It was like a little bit. You know what I mean? It was like a little tweak of sound that was going. I don't know if you were evolving towards that way or how the band was going, but that's how it seemed
yeah.
like.
Yeah, no, it was definitely evolving toward that. I think like there was also those few songs from the unreleased triple split that we were gonna do, and those were on the discography also. And those songs were like way screamier and a little heavier and like slightly more metally.
Yeah.
And honestly, that was like right before the very end of the whole thing because we were always changing so many band members all the time. Like it started to get really daunting and frustrating to always have to teach new people the songs. That's why we like also didn't have a lot of new music and we're re-recording stuff is because we like did not have a lot of new material because we didn't have the chance to make it because it was constantly evolving, with the lineups and stuff like that, just trying to
Yeah.
fill the spots.
Yeah.
So that became really kind of complicated. So eventually I reached a point where I was like, you know what? I'm just going to do all the music. And Rick and Tyler, you guys can lay down some vocals if you want. And let's have a new EP done. So I wrote and recorded all that stuff on my own
Oh, no
and
kidding.
then brought that over. And then those guys came and did vocals. And that was that last batch of stuff.
Yeah.
And we played some of it at the last few shows that we did, which was the last lineup that was a totally different lineup than all the rest of them, which was crazy.
Now, how did Innick get involved? Like in 2006, did they come to you, or did you go to them and say, like, I, I'd love to put a discography out? I mean, I've held on to this since 2006. I never got
Amazing.
rid of this. A lot of things I did get rid of, but I always kept that.
Yeah, sick. I'll get you a new one. I got some fresh copies when I
Uh,
see you.
yeah, it might be a little scratch because it's old, but that's not too bad.
Yeah, there you go. I could always send you the digital versions.
Oh,
Um, so yeah, Steven was living in South Dakota, Sioux Falls at the time.
mm,
So we had a really strong connection over there with those guys. And when we heard that, we kind of stopped doing shows. We like announced, I don't even remember how we announced it, but eventually I guess it was official that we were not doing stuff anymore.
yeah,
Um, and then he reached out about doing a discography. So I was like, hell yeah, let's do it. It'd be great to have this, you
yeah.
know?
So sick. I love this discography. It's funny. Like I talk to my old friends, and a lot of them are like CD heads, which is funny because nobody buys CDs, nobody makes CDs
Yeah.
anymore, and they're always like, "Oh, does this band have a CD? Like that band have a CD?" Like even like the newer bands now, and I'm like, "God, it's usually just like cassettes or vinyl or like you said, like a digital download or something like that."
Yeah.
So my friends, we're older, but they're CD heads like crazy. They eat up any CDs. It's so wild to me.
They
Um,
sound good. They sound better.
yeah, I mean, I like the art and stuff like that
Yeah.
too.
It's
Tapes
nice.
don't last that long. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? For
Yeah,
me.
that's true. Those were done.
So
I don't even have
yeah.
anything to play CDs on anymore, I don't think.
Yeah, like my car doesn't play CDs. I'd have to stick it in the computer, but I still have like a bunch. So just to have them, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Um,
Nice.
I wanted to ask you about the tours you did. Obviously, you guys came up to Providence and played with Daughters, and there were Wires at that show that I was at. Just tell me some of the tours, like good stories you had with touring and like the bands that you became friends with. Obviously, Spirit of Versailles and Dispensing of False Heroes, I know is good friends with you guys as well, and just that Midwest, you know, group of amazing bands at that time, and any other bands like in the East Coast, like Daughters and etc. Like, just tell me about tour in general.
Yeah, let me think. Our second lineup first tour, which was our second tour, we went up the East Coast, and I'm trying to think how many shows we did on that one. It was a little bit longer. Um, we played in Philly, and there we were chilling pretty hard with. Uh, oh God, I'm gonna blank so hard on all these names. Give me one sec. Craig Woods' band. I know his name, but I can't think of his band names right now. And I was just talking to him about all this and catching up. Uh, Fall on Deaf Ears.
Oh,
Fall,
oh
yeah,
yeah, yeah,
Fall on Deaf Ears.
yeah,
Right. Those dudes were
yeah.
sick.
They
And then
were.
we played. Oh, this is actually a good story. We went out to Connecticut on that tour. We played at a church in Hartford with. Is that where we met Dispensing of False Halos? It might have been. Oh no, it could have been them there. But we did play with On the Might of
Yeah.
Princes and um, what's that huge pop punk band that became like one of the biggest bands? Like My Chemical Romance, Taking Back Sunday.
Oh, Take It Back Sunday.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah, and they were like just about to. They were just blowing up because they were like we were all playing a show to like 16 people, at a church,
Yeah.
and they were like, "Man, we just played in New York City last night at Knitting Factory, sold out, 300 people. It was crazy." And they ended up blowing up to be so huge. But that was a cool show still, and those guys were all really nice. Um, where else did we play on that tour? I think we played in Gainesville at the Arc, which was kind of a legendary spot up there in North Florida. There was like a squat house
Mm.
that had like this big cement room that had uh, um, just shows in there. Oh, I see Dispensing on here. Yo, did you guys play that show with Taking Back Sunday with us? Was that where we met you? Maybe they'll answer. Uh, um, we also did a bunch of shows with
Mm.
Exam
Mm.
in Florida, and eventually on our third tour, yes, they did. Okay, that was where we met them. Sweet. Um, thanks, Rusty. If that's you, which I believe it is. That started a long-term friendship with those guys too. We played with them almost every time they came down to Florida, and I think possibly the time we went to Des Moines. I'm having a real foggy memory if you can't tell from all this stuff. But in my defense, it was 20 years
Yeah,
ago.
true, true. I mean, I'm so bad with remembering stuff too.
uh,
Uh, I always
yeah,
say, like, I wasn't at that show, and they're like, I have a picture of you at that show, and I'm like, oh, you do? I was like, oh, I guess I was there. Like, my memory's so bad. Like, it's
yeah,
it's it's age. We'll just say age.
yeah, brutal. Yeah, that happens too, right? So then, on our third tour, we drove out to the Midwest first from Florida, which was just awful design of a tour. But we played in not in Kansas City. What's that little college town just next to, not too far from Kansas City,
Uh, um,
Missouri, Eastland or not? No, not East Lansing. That's Michigan.
that's Michigan.
Lawrence, Kansas.
Lawrence, Karen.
That's right.
Oh, isn't that where Coalesce is from?
Oh, I thought they're from Boston.
No, Coalesce is from like I thought they were from like I thought they were from there, weren't they?
I always thought they were from Boston, and that's why Piebald and Coalesce had the whole connection. By the
No,
way,
no,
your
no.
Piebald
Coalesce is
live
no,
stream,
no. They're definitely not from
that's what
Boston. No.
I always thought. I had no
Yeah,
idea.
yeah, yeah. No, they always did play with Cave In though, and Converge and stuff like that. So yeah, they were always
Oh,
up
that's what
around here.
it
But
was. They were tight with Cave-In, right?
yeah, Cave
Okay,
In
yeah,
and
yeah, yeah.
Converge and yeah. So I mean, I could see that definitely. But yeah, I'm pretty sure they were from Kansas. I think.
Nice.
I could be wrong, but somebody can correct me. And what's up, Rusty?
Uh, what was I going to say? Yeah, we went out there. We played at a college house called the Pirate House, something like that. That was a dope show. Played in like the living room, super punk house, which was always good fun. And then we went up to Sioux Falls after that, and we played at Exam's house in their basement, which was a sick show.
Yeah.
They were fucking sick, and it was slammed in there, a million degrees. It was great.
Yeah. Now, was that when it was examination of the when they were called that instead of exam?
Yeah, it was before they had just
Yeah.
changed to Exam, and then um, we played with them when they just changed when they came down to Florida, Josh's house.
Yeah.
If you've heard of that place in Lakeland, this kid Josh used to have house
I
shows.
I love the progression of that band too. Obviously, I love the chaotic early stuff. I think that's like my favorite, but like how they progressed into the kind of slow, like doomier, like,
Yeah,
uh, that was great too. That band is just amazing and super, super nice people as well. But I loved how that band kind of, evolved.
yeah, that was really cool to see. We pretty much played with them at least once or twice through every like touring cycle they did around their releases. So we got to kind of see it evolve, and every time we played, we're just like, whoa! Every time it was something
Yeah,
new.
yeah.
It's cool.
How did you hook up with Daughters up in here for that show? I know it was. I think wasn't it at the Daughters like practice jam spot that show took place.
Is that what that was? I thought that
I
was like a
think it
squat.
was.
I thought that was like a squat
Y-
loft.
Yeah, yeah.
Um,
I think they jammed there though. If I may
yeah,
be wrong, I thought that
I
was
wouldn't
like
be surprised if they practiced there and like 15 people still lived there at the same time with no walls. Yeah, but so we played a show with As the Sun Sets in South Florida, and we met Lex and Johnny and became good friends with them. And then they came back as Daughters, and we just kept in touch with them. And we're like, hey, we're coming up there. Do you think you guys can help us get a show? They're like, let's do it. So that show came together, which was sick.
Yeah,
That was a great
that
night.
was a great night. Their Wires is such a good band too. I feel like super underrated band too.
Yeah.
Did anybody else play that show? Was it just the three of you guys? Was it only three bands? I can't remember.
Uh, no, there was another band that I think was members of Lightning Bolt. There was
Oh,
a drummer that the drummer was like singing. I remember he had like a bunch of marker on his face and was wearing like a raccoon tail and like a skimpy tank top,
yeah, yeah. I
something like
did
that.
now that's the kind of I do remember that. I might have got there right at the end of that though. They played first, right?
No, there was another band before them that played first. That was like a two-piece band.
Yeah, I didn't see that
Yeah.
band. I think I got there late because it was. I think that show was kind of scrambled, wasn't it? It was kind of like it was going to happen somewhere else, and then it all of a sudden like was
I don't
there.
remember,
Yeah,
to be honest.
great, great show though. Amazing show.
Yeah, that was super sick.
Um, so at the end of Kite Flying Society, was it kind of just like everybody was mutually like, all right, let's go on to something different? Was it kind of like all of you guys came together and just said, oh, okay, let's like disband, or was it or musical differences? Like what was the cause of the breakup?
Um, well, we were like super in between band members changing around. It was getting really frustrating and harder to do stuff. And honestly, in my own personal life outside of the band, a lot of stuff was going on and changing. Like I went to culinary school. I started working in restaurants in Orlando after we moved up there. And eventually I started my own business in the food and wine pairing, like catering service. And I had this business partner and like he kind of ran our business into the ground. Alcohol business isn't good for everybody, just to put it out there.
Yeah.
And, um, and so I got a new opportunity to open a restaurant in South Florida. And I was at this like turning point with all that stuff happening. And we weren't really playing as much and it was getting harder to do stuff. I said, you know what? I'm going to move, and that's pretty much going to be the end of it. Because I mean, I did pretty much everything on the, I guess, like managerial side and songwriting side with Rick. So
Yeah.
that was pretty much the end of it. That's what I mean. It led to me like recording the whole thing on my own to try to just get stuff out.
Yeah.
And so I took an opportunity, which eventually brought me here to New York because that didn't even work out, and been here for the last 20 years.
How long of a time was it before you joined Cobra Starship?
Um, so I moved back down south in 2004, and in 2005 I moved to New York, and then I joined that band in 2006, like late 2006.
And how was that experience for you? Obviously, a very popular band, and
Yeah, it was a really great experience. I mean, I got to be part of something that was like really next level, huge. The stuff I had dreamed about doing as a little kid, playing arenas and stuff, especially growing up in the arena rock era of
yeah,
like hair metal and stuff like that. I was
yeah.
always like, man, I want to get up there and do that. So that definitely got to fulfill that for me. And it was sick. We toured around the world,
Mhm.
a whole new world of music and bands and friends and hardcore touring. I mean, for the first like 6 years, we were touring like um, 9 months out of the year, you know?
Yeah,
So it was a complete lifestyle change, living on the road. Eventually it took us to just flying around and doing all that stuff. And it became a very high profile tour. I mean, we did stadium tours with Justin Bieber at one point in South America,
really. Yeah,
Yeah, we did all the TV stuff. It was a really wild experience. And, it wasn't always easy. It's a lot of work, you don't just kind of ride the wave and cruise along through it. And
yeah.
I got to get involved a lot on the album side, which was cool
Hmm.
because I've been producing music for a long, long time and mixing. So I got to get involved that way, which was a fun experience, which eventually led me to like a career in producing music
Yeah.
after I quit that project in 2013.
So you were in Cobra Starship for quite a quite a many years, and
Yeah.
was it just a toll of like the touring and stuff like that that was kind of like enough for you to kind of do your producing thing on your own?
No, actually, I really love the touring. I've just always loved playing shows and doing all that stuff. And then I've also been DJing since like 2004. So,
Yeah,
I love just constantly doing all sorts of things like that involved with music and the live aspect. But it wasn't the touring that let it off. Honestly, a bunch of changes happened and the band took like an unannounced hiatus.
mm,
And it wasn't until um, the singer whose band it pretty much really was,
yeah,
it was mostly his project and we just kind of get to be part of it. But once he decided to come back, I had already started focusing on producing because it was such a long hiatus. I was like, now's my time to like get a publishing deal and get into songwriting and producing and
yeah,
see what this world is like because I've been recording and producing for so long. I have the skills now working on this other stuff with this band and
yeah,
let me try to make that my career. Would love to. So I signed a publishing deal. I got super into it, and his management hit me up. Well, the management, they were my management too, I guess at the time technically.
yeah,
And they're like, "Listen, and there's a new single that he's ready to roll out with. The label likes it. He was signed to Atlantic, and now's your chance to either stay or go. And like nobody will be bummed out if you leave. You're really busy with all this other stuff.
yeah, yeah,
We're all here to support you. If you want to do that, that's totally cool. We just want to like figure it out." And so I was like, send me the song. They're like, if the song is successful, you already know what it's like to have like a top 10 single,
yeah,
and what the touring is going to be like, what your income and everything is going to be like. If you want to do that life again, if it gets there, that's the capacity pretty much.
yeah,
So I was like, send me the song. And I didn't love the song. And it was like, a lot of that stuff started getting produced by other producers a lot. And I was less involved. So I was like, I don't know, it kind of just feels like you're playing cover songs a little bit. And like, I didn't love that aspect. I said, I'm going to take this opportunity to amicably part ways.
yeah, yeah.
So that's what I did there.
Nice,
Yeah.
nice. And then that's when you really started going full bore into like the what you're doing now, like doing like the DJ
Mm,
and thing and stuff like that. I
mm,
know you were doing that all along, but I mean now you could really focus in that solely, correct?
yeah. So basically, I was actually just focusing on writing and producing for other
Hmm.
artists and pitching music and working with singers and songwriters and sometimes just writing vocals, sometimes producing also and doing all that stuff,
Yeah.
um, which was great. And I really enjoyed it. I did actually start getting into like more like actually starting another project. I had no plan or intention of doing that. But eventually, my publishing company was like, "Hey, we think you would do really well, like writing music for like sync and licensing for commercials and stuff like that. Not
Hmm.
like jingles, but like making the song that you hear in the background of like a Jeep commercial.
Yeah,
It's like a real song.
yeah,
So all these things get pitched because they're usually written in a way that's designed to like kind of hint you towards what's happening. But you don't write this stuff with any direction. You just have to come up with cool, generic yet specific stuff that works for commercials or HBO or whatever, trailers and all this stuff.
yeah.
So I took a shot at that and I started, doing remixes just to make some money
Mm.
because freelance songwriting doesn't pay very well. So
Yeah,
I uh, I started doing remixes because I had been doing them for a while earlier on with Cobra and stuff like that. So there's a bunch of like Cobra remixes and all this stuff. And so I was like, great, yeah. I started doing them under this moniker, and I was like, fuck it, I'm gonna put out some original music. Like I love making all sorts of different kinds of music.
yeah,
Let me just start doing this for fun. And then my publisher started getting me tons of sync placements with that stuff, with the dance stuff. And I
yeah.
was like, this is kind of crazy. So I was like having a pretty good career run doing that. Eventually, they sold to a bigger company, and now I'm in a huge pot of like 1,000 songwriters. So like
Yeah.
that part is gone from me, unfortunately. But it was cool while it lasted. But it's what really inspired me to say, hey, you know what? Maybe there's something here to actually push forward more and not focus on producing for other people and just focus on myself. And it got me really inspired and excited. I eventually started a record label that I put out a bunch of cool other independent artists on from all around the world, and it's all singles in the dance world.
Yeah, yeah.
I know it's not really of interest for the Kite Flying Society, following, but
Hey, listen, I love that kind of music. I
yeah,
love all kinds of
yeah,
music, honestly. I think like I see it more nowadays where people like so many different kinds of genres of music. It's like I don't like yes, I'm like full into the scene still to this day, but what I listen to in the car is not what you know what I mean.
yeah,
It's like listen to The Cure or Portishead or PJ Harvey or I'll listen to De La Soul or it's like I'm not. I feel like a lot of us are listening to different things and still have roots in the hardcore and screamo like world. At least for me, you know what I mean. I still love going to the shows and seeing the kids and the energy of the kids and the new bands and stuff like that. That's exciting for me. But as a listening ear, I listen to everything, and I like this stuff that the EDM stuff and
yeah.
like the dance stuff. It's
Thanks,
it's
man. Yeah, I mean, we were super into. I mean, we used to go to see like the Faint and like go dance. Really, that's why that's kind of like we dance at night is kind of inspired by this
yeah,
stuff.
yeah.
In those moments, it's like especially in Orlando at that time, like DJing, like indie dance parties was like really popular. And we even played where I first started DJing in Miami at this party called Revolver. Our friend Josh used to have. We played with Melt Banana there. Like,
Wow, no,
yeah, they're like
sick.
sick. Like, it's a nightclub, and then they just have like punk and hardcore bands and metal bands come up,
Yeah,
play for 2 hours, and then it's just a dance party after, and it's
sick.
like the same crowd the whole time, and
Yeah,
everybody's having a
sick.
blast.
That's sick.
So, that's where I kind of got my taste of nightlife, and I was like, oh, this is pretty cool, and I always loved the music part of it, and got super into it.
Yeah, nice. Um, I want to get into like how, like, what made you decide to make Kite Flying Society Instagram and like dip your foot back into the water of the Kite
Yeah,
Society band. Like, let's get into this little
yeah,
news and
let's,
like why this is happening and
yeah. I appreciate that. So, yeah, it's kind of funny. A few things all happened within the same like 2 month period, and that's when I was like, okay, let's try and figure some stuff out here. So, Widow Dusk, shout out Jordan. Those guys are fucking super cool.
yeah,
Love what they're doing. And he reached out to me, on my personal Instagram, and he was like, "Yo, were you in Kite Flying Society?" I was like, "Yeah, what's up, man?" He's like, and it's funny. I've had a bunch of random people reach out to me over the years, which has been really cool. So thank you for everybody who's hit me up in any way. Um, he was like, "Yo, we've been covering your song Art of Conversation at our shows, and like, it's popping off." I was like, "No way!" So he sent me a video, and I was like, "Holy shit!" Like people know it. Like I was shocked.
yeah,
Sent it to my friends. We're like, "What the fuck?" We're like, "This is crazy. Like this doesn't seem right." And I know that there's been like a handful of YouTube videos out there over the years, and a lot of people just posting the music. And, I've checked some of that stuff out, and you see a lot of people kind of asking questions about the band and stuff like that. And
Yeah.
I've tried to answer some people over the years. A lot of people were pretty bummed out that I was in Cobra Starship, which is kind of funny. But anyway, yeah, I don't give a fuck. But
Yeah.
um, so yeah, so Widow Dusk covering Art of Conversation was the first kind of piece that fell into place. And then my niece came to visit me. She just graduated high school. I bought her a trip to New York to come hang out with her uncle for the weekend in New York City. And every time I've seen her, I've always been like, what are you jamming? What are you listening to these days? And she's like, Scrams. And I was like, what the fuck is Scrams? She's like, it's like Screamo, like Kite Flying Society. I was like, how do you even know that? She's like, well, that's what's happening right now. And I was like, no way. So I interrogated her pretty hard about all the bands that I used to like, and
Yeah.
she knew her shit, which was really cool. And so we bonded pretty hard over that. And I was like, that's crazy that this is popping up. She's like, yeah, I go to shows. She's like, I'm going to see Page 99. I think they just played there in like October or something
Yeah.
like that in Georgia. And I was like, yo, that's crazy. I was like, what the fuck is going on here? And then like a week after that, um, who was it? Fucking I'm blanking out again right now. It
Shout out to
was,
Jordan, though. Shout out to Jordan. Widow Dusk is dope, and Jordan's a good dude too. Like
yeah,
he's a good dude.
no, I can't. Give me 1 second. I'm shooting myself in the head right now for this. Uh, basically, we heard through the grapevine. My old drummer, Jason Schuster, hits me up, and he's like, well, one of our drummers. He was the second drummer who recorded on both the EPs. So
Mhm.
he was like our longest playing performer there. And he's like, yo, I'm just getting, a lot of people are asking if we're going to be like getting back together. All this stuff, all these reunions and shit are happening right now. I was like, no way. And he's like, yeah, I think there's like this festival that's going to be happening where all these bands are getting together. Like, I think like the Spirit of Versailles guys are involved and all this stuff. And I was just like, crazy. He's like, yeah, and I think like people are wondering if we're gonna, get involved with them. I was like, no way. I was like, is this like really a thing like happening right now? I was like, too many things lining up right now. It keeps coming back to me. I was like, it's time to do something.
Yeah, yeah,
So,
definitely. The stars were aligning right here.
dude, big time. So I had a catch up with Rick, who our singer who lives in Germany.
Yeah.
He's been in Germany for the last like, gosh, I don't know, 15 years or something like that, 10 years. And I'm like, dude, I'm like, by the way, like KFS keeps kind of popping up. Um, People are kind of asking if we're going to do a reunion. Like, is that even possible? Like, would we even be able to make that happen? And he's just like, if we got to do it, we got to do it. I was like, all right, let me see what we can get together here. So I started talking to Jordan, and we started kind of getting the pieces together.
Mhm.
Lo and behold, excited to announce that next year we will be doing some reunion shows. Um, the first one being in Los Angeles, and this is all going to happen at the end of May. So, um, just getting announced tomorrow. This is pre-release announcement. Uh, May 24th, Saturday, May 24th, we're going to be playing in Los Angeles for the Your Renaissance Festival. That's going to be super sick. There's going to be a few reunions happening, actually, and they're announcing everything tomorrow. So that's the first show. And we're talking to Widow Dusk, seeing about popping down to San Diego on the next day, which is a Sunday.
Yeah.
And then the following week, we are going to be playing in Miami at a place called Gramps with our good friends Protagonists, another band called Graves, and there's going to be a few other bands on the bill there.
Nice. That's sick.
And then the day after that, and these are all fly dates for us. We don't have gear. We don't have a
Yeah.
van. We don't have shit, man. Yeah. We're borrowing gear everywhere at every show. So we're gonna go LA, San Diego, then the next weekend on Friday we'll be Miami, and then New York on Saturday, probably in
Mhm.
Brooklyn.
Yeah.
And that's probably gonna be it. We were trying to maybe squeeze a fifth show. I was telling you in Rhode Island, but I don't think we're going to be able to do it, unfortunately. I was talking with Rick about it.
Hmm.
He can only take so much time off coming from Germany.
Yeah,
He's got a family and stuff over there and works and stuff, and everybody's got crazy schedules. So,
yeah, yeah.
also some cool stuff. We're going to be repressing our two EPs on a 12-inch vinyl, one on each side, and releasing that on In It Records. I've been talking to Steven about that, and he was super down. So that's really exciting. And we're going to be making some merch. So we're going to drop like a really small t-shirt or maybe one or two t-shirt designs soon to help us kind of, get some funds going
Yeah.
together to make all this happen because, it's going to be pretty costly for us with all these planes and everything because we're all spread out between New York, Germany, Atlanta, and Gainesville.
Yeah.
So it's going to be pretty interesting because we're not really going to get to rehearse that much.
Yeah, yeah, that's what I was gonna ask. How is it gonna, come together rehearsing wise if you guys are so spread out?
Yeah. So I've been trying to make like recordings of the guitar. I had to like relearn all this shit, dude. It's been a wild ride.
Yeah.
But I went super deep on it and I was like, it's been a lot of fun actually, just kind of relearning everything and, you know, reliving what my brain was doing back then musically, which is totally different than where I'm at now. But I think like, I'm gonna have to go down to the South a couple times for some just band only rehearsals, and then we're gonna have one day of rehearsals with
Yeah.
Rick when he
Yeah.
gets here. So we're all trying to kind of practice on our own, and
Yeah.
then just gonna have to come together and do it and make it happen, man.
Sick.
But it's gonna be sick.
Is Rick screaming his vocals out so that he's.
I text him like twice a week to make sure he's doing it.
Yeah.
I'm like, it's been a long time. I'm trying to do it as much as I can because oftentimes the other voice in those recordings screaming is me. So
Yeah.
I'm trying to get this shit ready in time for that.
Now, do you have the set list already like structured right now?
Pretty much. Um, Pretty much, yeah. I think so. We're talking about maybe trying to get some new material out also around this, which would be sick. I've
Yeah.
made a couple of demos. I want to try and make a couple more and just maybe get like a two-song thing out, or maybe we'll put it all out. I'm not sure yet, but it's kind of tough with Rick trying to get him. He's like trying to find a way to make it happen. So I don't
Yeah.
know. I'm not sure how that's going to work. I've been talking to everybody and trying to get everybody motivated to like, I made demos and I'm sending them stems and hoping that they're going to relearn it and then make their own parts
Yeah.
and then record it and then send it back to me. It's all
Yeah.
hard. It's very
Yeah.
complicated
Yeah.
right now.
Yeah, that's so sick. Like new music and just coming together in a reunion. I mean, what do you think of like this year of it's like the last 2 years has been the year of the reunions for this type of music. Like, what do you think of that? Because like I've seen all the, I saw Orchid, I saw Seisha, I saw Usurp, I saw In Loving Memory just the other day, and like the energy is just bonkers. Like being older, I was like, oh, it might not be that good, and like, you know what I mean. It's like maybe they're just doing it for money or whatever it was that people had reservations on. And then I see these bands live, and I'm blown away by the energy and just like it's just incredible to see. You know what I mean? And on top of just In Loving Memory making new music on top of that too is just incredible. What do you think of like this thing that's coming together with everybody doing
Dude,
it?
I think it's super sick, man. I mean, music is cyclical for sure. And I think it's just like been the right time for this to come
Mm.
back. And there's so much shit happening in the world. And I know that's that's like definitely part of it probably creates a lot of angst for people, and this is like a great way to kind of enjoy music and release it at the same time. But I think at the end of the day, I think it's super cool, man. I think it's a lot of fun. I think, you know, something needed to come back and kind of fill that spot. I know you've still been posting a lot of content over the years
Mm.
of bands still doing this, and I've seen little videos and little pieces of content floating around, and like it's kind of always been going on, and
Mm.
I always wondered, I was like, is this ever gonna like come back and have a thing? And then sure enough, it sparked off, man, and I think it's cool that like all the old bands are back pretty much. I don't think not too many haven't yet,
Yeah,
so
yeah.
it's really
Um,
cool. I did want to say, Loving Memory has definitely been pretty instrumental in us getting back involved. We've been talking to them quite a bit,
Yeah.
and it's cool. It's cool that they're fucking crushing it, and love to see that and support them. So yeah, man, excited to kind of see everybody. It feels like a reunion. As soon as I made the account and like all these old bands started following us, I was getting all these DMs, and I was like,
Yeah.
it's like the fucking 20-year reunion happening right now.
Yeah, yeah, it's
So it's
sick that.
cool.
Yeah. This someone was asking. Yeah, I know Widow Dusk is a newer band that you listen to, but I wanted to ask the same question. Are you into any of the younger kids that are doing bands now that are in this genre or the scene? Like, have you been listening to any new music at all? Like,
Not too much, to be honest. Um, I haven't been investigating too much. I've honestly, because I'm just like my hours every day are
yeah,
so
yeah,
minimal, you know, like I
yeah,
work full time. I'm a director of education at a music school here in New York City,
hmm
and I run a record label. I have another artist project of my own. I'm spending my weekends like playing guitar and relearning all these songs.
yeah,
Um, I haven't gotten too deep into it, but some people have sent me some bands. I've had a lot of really great conversations with people in the KFS Instagram DMs, and a lot of people have been sending me some cool bands to check out, and they've all been really sick. But you know, I haven't really been listening to too much on repeat, if that makes sense. But
yeah, yeah,
I don't listen to too much music these days anyway. Running a record label, you kind of just get pounded with music a lot,
yeah, yeah.
and so.
True.
I spend a lot of my time listening to podcasts if I'm going to listen to something on like a walk or a bike ride or something.
Yeah, yeah. Now that New York show, is that a fest as well, or is it just like a setup?
No, we're trying to put that together right now. That's going to be like a probably hopefully a shitty warehouse with the fucking red ass lights,
Yeah,
but it might be at a club or something like that.
yeah, yeah,
Widow Dusk or so we're talking to Widow Dusk about hopefully doing San Diego and New York with them.
yeah, yeah. Sick, sick. Well, if New
So
York does, if New York falls through, Rhode Island would love to have you.
yes, yes, they would. I got a contact, so hopefully we can. And you know, we're all kind of unsure of what the future means for the band because we're not planning like a full tour or anything like that. I mean,
Yeah,
it'd be really hard for us to do that, but we kind of want to see how this goes, and maybe we can make like an annual thing, or maybe, hey, we'll be able to like maybe we'll be able to do a tour one day. I've had so many people reaching out to me from different states and cities, being like, "Hey, come in like Baltimore," and
yeah,
I was
yeah,
like, "Bro, it's crazy. Yeah, would love to. You know, I wish we had more time to do it. I was trying to just squeeze in the fifth show.
yeah,
You
yeah.
know,
Exactly. Yeah, it's so exciting. Your Renaissance is announcing tomorrow. I know that they said 10 bands for each day, 2 days. It sounds like it's going to be incredible when the news breaks tomorrow.
yep.
Um, I'm super excited to see the lineup. You
Are you going
know,
to go out there for that?
I don't know.
You might
I'll have to see.
have to, man.
Yeah, I'll have to see the lineup, and if I can get out there, I will. If not, I'm gonna definitely try to make it to New York without a doubt. But I would love to go to LA and see um, an amazing fest, especially like I've heard rumblings of like some of the bands too, which I won't say, but I mean
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
I've heard rumblings, and I'm like, phew, it's like
yeah.
crazy,
It
crazy.
is crazy. It's going to be nuts, man. I'm really excited. There's going to be a lot of our old friends there,
So
so
someone
it's going to be
was
really cool.
asking when is it again? It's May.
May
Uh,
24th is when we're playing, which is a Saturday. It's a Friday and Saturday. Let me look here in the calendar. May 23rd and May 24th.
Yeah, and they'll be announcing this tomorrow on Instagram, and I'm sure it'll be all over the place. But by tomorrow, I don't know exactly what time they're doing it, but I saw the Instagram when they posted about it. So
Yeah, you'll see everybody dropping it. We're going to be posting the flyer probably in the afternoon.
yeah,
So
so stoked.
doesn't
Um,
have the lineup yet though. Doesn't show the lineup.
oh, it doesn't show the lineup
No,
tomorrow.
no,
Neither.
no. You'll have to know by the bands that post it, I think is the idea.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
okay.
So that'll be
Yeah,
interesting.
so you have to do some searching then, I guess.
Yep.
Um, I don't want to keep you too long, and thank you so much for telling the news to everybody on
Dude,
on
thank you so much for
yeah.
having me, man. Really appreciate you.
But before I leave, I always do a rapid fire.
Oh
I
shit.
don't know
All
if you
right.
so you ready for some rapid fire action?
All right, hit me.
All right. My first question all the time is, what is your all-time favorite hardcore screamo band from New England, like Massachusetts, Rhode Island, Connecticut.
Damn, that's a tough call. Um, I'm inclined to say Daughters, but I might have to go with You and I.
You well, you and I is from New
New
Jersey.
Jersey. I guess it's not New England technically, is
No,
it?
no, no,
It's
no,
not.
no.
Fuck. All right. All right, then I'm gonna have to go
All right.
Daughters. I'm trying to think who else we might know out there, but I think yeah, the New Jersey scene was pretty strong
Now,
at the time.
were you a Boston like hardcore guy like we were talking about like Converge and Cave In and like Pieball and that stuff? Were you into that stuff when that was
Dude,
popping off?
for sure. I still got my piebald 10-inch, bro. That fucking my favorite release of theirs.
Was it
But
when Sometimes Friends Fight? Is that the
yeah,
band? Yeah, yeah,
that's the one.
yeah,
I still have the patch that came with it,
yeah,
actually.
yeah. It's just like the guy's head. Like, is that the?
Yeah,
I
but
used to.
I'd say yeah, yeah. I'd say I'd put Piebald down probably as my favorite band from that era because I was a huge fan. Sometimes Friends Fight, Life Hands You Lemons,
Yeah,
all that shit, man.
yeah, yeah. It's good stuff. All right. My second question: what was the first real hardcore show you went to? Like real hardcore show, not Battle of the Bands type thing. Like a real hardcore show.
First real hardcore show I went to was in Miami, and what band was it? Might have been H2O. I think that might have been it, the first hardcore band.
Not a bad first show.
No, we went to see another band that was playing, but they were also playing,
Yeah,
and there's a lot of skinheads in South Florida.
yeah, nice.
Yeah.
My next question: what was your all-time favorite show that your band played, Kite Flying Society? What was the most like that meant the most to you?
Yeah, I'll tell you right now, no brainer. Actually, our second to last show we ever played, because we didn't have an official last show, right?
Mm.
So we played this show at a place called Will's Pub in Orlando. That was a really cool spot, and a lot of great bands played there. And it was like it's like our strongest turnout. Like it's when we really started getting traction there. That was outside of like our friends and doing house shows and stuff
Yeah,
like that. We basically, this is the last lineup that we had, which was me, Rick, Tyler Petito, who was our bass player from like the second EP on, pretty much. After Jeannie had played for a little bit, and then Mike Yardley on drums and Jason Whitey Camp on guitar, who formerly played in Reversal of Man for a little bit.
yeah.
And we did a little string of shows that were all really sick. And we did like a little radio performance for the local radio at Rollins College. And then we played a show at Will's Pub, and that show was just fucking sick. Like we sounded great. The fucking place was packed, and like we really felt like the love back. And like we felt the love playing all the small basement and house shows too. But to like fill out a venue felt like things were really like going to the next level for us,
Yeah,
and it
yeah.
kind of felt like the beginning of the next thing. Then there was like a lot of hype around us. We played a show at this place called Ozone Records, which ended up being our actual unofficial last show,
Mm.
which wasn't as good, but it was still good. And I have the whole recording of it, and it's up on YouTube.
Oh, sick, sick, sick.
Yeah.
My next question: what was your all-time favorite hardcore screamo show you saw but you didn't perform at?
Damn. Saw but didn't perform at.
Like you went to go see this band and it was like amazing for you.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Gosh, this goes so far back. I can't even think. You know what? Okay, different time in my life. Um, Cobra one year did Warp Tour,
Hmm.
and uh, it was pretty sick because we got to become friends with them and hang out with them. But Every Time I Die was fucking sick, and I thought they were one of the best bands I had
Yeah,
seen. And I got to see them
nice.
like so many times in a row. Every time it got better and better, and I was like, dude, these guys are fucking nuts.
Yeah, yeah,
They were
that's
they
sick.
were really good. Yeah.
That's sick. Um, I'm a movie guy. I always ask this. I watch a ton of movies. I always ask, what was the last movie you watched?
The Substance.
Oh, you watched The Substance.
It's
Yeah, I've seen
fucking
that.
amazing. I loved it. I thought it was great.
Yeah, I thought it was
Yeah.
good too. I don't know, but
Yeah.
the ending was a little weird for me. I feel
I
like they
love it.
kind of just
Yeah.
like they I don't know, it just got so bananas at the end. Like it
Oh,
was
it
great.
spirals into fucking bizarre world, dude. I love
Yeah,
that
yeah,
shit.
yeah. It was a great movie though, definitely. I also am like a huge like '80s, '90s boom bap hip hop guy. If you've been listening to any hip hop lately, what have you been listening to?
You know, I listen to a lot of old hip hop all the time still. Wu-Tang, Tribe, all that kind of stuff. Big Beastie Boys fan. Um, love Q-Tip and all his involvement with those guys and all his other endeavors. I usually go the old school route and I
Yeah,
listen to hip hop.
yeah. Have you been listening to any newer like I know there's still like boom bap style music out there now. Have you listened to any newer stuff that's kind of in that same vein?
Man, the last good hip hop song that came out to me, unfortunately, was Kanye West, No More Parties in LA, was the last one. I haven't heard anything like that. That was like old school mixtape vibes, you know,
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
and I wish people would embrace that more. You don't hear it as much as you'd want to. That to me is like the hip hop because, you know, I was in my teenage years in high school in the 90s, late 90s, and that's when it was like
Yeah.
going off. So
Yeah. I still like make mixtapes on Spotify all the time of like brand new hip hop singles from like this month. So say,
nice.
November, I'll have like a November mixtape of all stuff that has come out in November. From like the newer, still some like old schoolers still put out some stuff too. But I'll send that to you if like you're bored and you want to listen to some newer stuff.
Dude, super down to check it out, man.
Um,
Always down to check out new stuff. And if anybody else has any cool, like new screamo emo bands that they want to send my way, just send it to the DMs. Check it out for sure.
um, my next question: favorite Kite Flying Society song to play live for you?
Rocky Four is the one.
It's a good song.
Yeah.
We dance that night. It's amazing too. Like,
Yeah, that one was that one's definitely a favorite. Before I think before Rocky Four was probably that one. To be honest, those two were always like real high energy,
yeah,
really fun for us.
nothing is really good too. Like,
Oh yeah, thanks, man. Yeah, it's been crazy revisiting all this stuff, man. It's really wild. We recorded that Pink EP for a pack of Nutter Butters and a gallon of milk in this dude's apartment. His house, actually, he lived with his dad, and
oh, no kidding.
he had some mics and recording software. He's like, "Yeah, I'll record your band. Just pay me in a pack of Nutter Butters and a gallon of milk." I was like, "Done." And we did the whole thing
Wow,
in 2 days and got out of there.
it's sick.
Yeah,
That's amazing.
that's
Um,
why. Yeah. Oh,
lastly, I just wanted to, if you need to like pitch anything about Kite Flying Society besides the shows that's happening, or I know some of the music and shirts and stuff like that. When might people see like the shirts go up, or
yeah. So I'm getting help from Tyler for that stuff. So the lineup, by the way, is going to be me, Jason Schuster, Tyler Petito, and Rick Barnicky. Jason, who played on both EPs, and Tyler, who played on both or on the second EP and the later recordings.
Mhm.
Um, we're trying to get the merch going soon, so we
Mhm.
should be having some at least. We're probably gonna do like a pre-order on the first merch design, so we can gauge the sizes for ordering stuff later,
Yeah,
and not have to put a ton of money up front and like overspend on stuff that we're not going to be able to get
yeah,
rid of. So
yeah,
this is like a whole one-time thing for all of this. So we're kind of trying to calculate it all precisely.
yeah, yeah.
Um,
Now, will you make a Bandcamp for this so that like they can just directly buy from Bandcamp or whatever, or
Yeah,
like,
it's going to be one of those. Yeah, it's going to be something like that. So we'll be posting about it when we announce it. And the vinyl that we're going to print is only going to be available with us at the shows. So if we have any left over, we're going to put them and sell them on the store. Um, and honestly, I want to try and keep putting out some cool stuff. Like there's been a bunch of small labels that have reached out to me that release on cassette.
yeah, yeah,
And uh, I'm like, hey, maybe after this little show run, we can do a cassette repress of
yeah,
something or something new, you know? So
yeah,
we'll
yeah.
see how that all comes together. But trying to navigate all this stuff right now. We just got some t-shirt designs that we made that we like. So we're going to probably drop those pretty soon and then start that pre-order going and then, keep the hype going before the
Nice,
shows.
nice. So are all the shows gonna be out there tomorrow? Or is it gonna kind of sift like day by
Yeah.
day?
So right now, LA and Miami are pretty much ready to go. So we're going to start dropping that information very soon.
Yeah.
Couldn't not go to Florida on this run, so we had to make it down there. And yeah, basically those two are the other ones that we have fully booked and confirmed right now. So we're going to be hopefully locking in San Diego soon, and New York, and then it's go time in May.
Nice. So sick. So sick.
Thank
Congratulations too.
thank you, man. Thank you.
It's super exciting.
Dude, honestly, it is, man. It's been really amazing to see all the feedback and hear from people. I've had so many nice messages from people that have reached out and been like, yo, like, just saying the really nice things. And that's been really amazing and inspiring. And honestly, you know, getting these little like inklings of things kind of happening along the way and the stars lining up and the name kind of keep popping up gave the whole inspiration to start the Instagram, get the music on Spotify and stuff like that. Like, and start booking some shows. So
Yeah.
we're trying to make it happen. Hopefully we can do more, hopefully this won't be the end of it and maybe we can keep doing more stuff.
Yeah.
So we'll
Like
see.
you said, if I mean, you guys put out new music and then maybe not 2025, but 2026, you do another bunch of cities. I mean, some bands are doing that are doing reunions anyways. They're doing like a little tiny bunch of cities and then a big gap and then they do another tiny bit, of cities somewhere else.
Oh, nice. That's good to know at least because I was worried about that. I was like, I don't know if that's going to piss people off or what, but
Well, I mean, what else can you do? If
yeah.
you, like I said, Germany to New York to Florida to, you know what I mean? It's life. Life happens, and hopefully people understand that. You know what I mean? I get it though.
Yeah.
Every band that I do the same thing to, like the newer bands. Like, I'm always like, come to Boston, come to Rhode Island, because those are like the closest places to me. But I do the same thing everybody else does. You know what
For sure, for sure.
I mean?
Hopefully, I'm really hoping this all goes well and we can continue doing stuff.
Yeah, it's so very exciting. Alex, so much. Thank you so much for
Dude,
doing this. Uh,
appreciate you, man. Thank you so much, Al.
it's been a long time coming, and
Yeah.
I'm just honored to chat with you and do this. So keep me informed of anything else that's going on, and I'm going to try to make it to one of these shows for sure. I can't wait. So,
Sick, man. Thank you, dude. Really appreciate everything you've done, everything you're doing. We'll
and,
definitely keep in
and
touch.
if there's anything I can do on my side of things, like maybe like Boston or whatever. I know you have a connect in Rhode Island too, but to reach out. I'll help
All
as
right.
best I can.
Sweet. Thank you,
Uh,
man.
but thank you so much again, and have a great night. And let's keep in touch.
You too. Thanks again, and thanks everybody who joined us. I'll
All
catch you
right.
later.
All right.
Peace.
Peace.